Now that your gradebook is all set up, we can take a look at how to enter in assignments, tests, anything graded into your gradebook. Over on the left-hand side of your course, you'll click on Gradebook, and you'll see that in my gradebook I have all of the students in my first hour class loaded. I have all grade periods listed across the top. Again, one of the choices in setting up my gradebook was to choose to see all of these or to choose not to see all of them. If this number of columns here gets overwhelming, I can always go back into my grade setup and remove them. You'll notice that you have a couple of choices across the top. I can view all my grading periods, or I can simply view grading period 2. Remember, for trimester classes, you'll be choosing from 2, 4, or 6. For semester classes, you would be choosing from 3 and 6. So that's why I chose 2 instead of number 1. So grading period number 2, that does take those columns out of play. I can choose at once to look at all category summaries. I could choose to look only at formative assessments or summative assessments. If I have items that I've included that are ungraded, I could choose to see all of those as well, or just leave it at all materials. I can organize the information by due date or by date created. Due date can either be ascending or descending, as well as the date created. And then your view, you can highlight cells. So if you want to see how many students have an incomplete assignment that needs to be completed or graded, you can click on Mark Incomplete and it will highlight all of those windows in your gradebook so they're easy to see. You have lots of choices here. What we're going to look at right now is this plus. When you click on the plus, you've got 4 choices, and we're going to be working with the first choice today. The assignment feature is what we're going to use for anything that we assign in class. That might be homework, class time work. It might also include tests or quizzes that you administer in class. This would be your traditional paper assessments. Those will be entered into your gradebook as an assignment. By choosing the test or quiz feature, you would actually be creating an electronic test or quiz inside the Schoology program, which is an awesome feature and I highly recommend it, but you might not be ready for that yet. Adding a discussion is also an option, and the discussion would be, again, an electronic discussion rather than a discussion that you'd have during class. So kids would type their responses back and forth to each other. Adding a grading column is going to be something that we will not be using at this time, so you can ignore option number 4. Going back up to the top here, I'm going to click on Add Assignment. When my window pops up, I'm going to enter in the information for that assignment. I would give my assignment a name. We're just going to call this Practice for right now, number 1. I would provide a description for that assignment. I can use all of these text editing functions across the top in addition to adding links. So if students are working with this assignment inside of Schoology and you want them to go look at a website, you can put the link to that website in the assignment itself. You can also insert content, including pictures, symbols, equations for you math teachers out there. LaTeX is another math function that I'm not as familiar with, but check in with your math teachers. I think it's a way to include more complex equation work. You can add YouTube videos, which is what you're watching right now, and you can add a Google document or a slideshow or form into your assignment. So you've got lots of options here. You can include a table if you like. You can spell check your work to make sure things are great. You can change your font and size. So you would type in your description here. And underneath your description box, you have some choices. Again, you'll see Assign from App. In this case, if you assign from the Google Drive Assignments app, it's a little bit like Google Drive, where a copy of a template is created individually for each student in your course. So say you have a fill-in-the-blank worksheet that you want students to fill out digitally. You have that saved in your Google Drive. You can add that document by clicking in here, and then a copy of that digital fill-in-the-blank worksheet would be made for each individual student. It's kind of handy. Enter in your due date. We'll put the due date for the first day of school. And you can change the time at which it is due. So if a class ends at 9 o'clock in the morning and you would like all work to be turned in by 9 o'clock in the morning at the end of the class period, you can note that here. And then of course put in the point value that it's worth. You would want to make sure that you have your category selected, either ungraded, formative, or summative. And the grading scale will be middle school 50 to 100. If you're in a pass-fail course, which I think applies to Math Lab, you do have that option to choose from pass-fail in the grading scale. Down below your scale or rubric, you have some options. You may individually assign things either to a particular student or a small group that you've created. We'll talk about that a little bit more trimester 2. You should align all of your assignments with learning objectives. So this target would be like our learning target. When I click on the target, I scroll down to find state standards, at which point I choose Minnesota, which is helpfully at the top. For most content areas, you're going to choose academic standards. You'll see math, science, social studies, health, Phi-Ed, world language, and the arts. If, however, you are a language arts teacher, you're going to click on Common Core. And since that's what I teach, I'll click in there. I open up the Common Core standards and you'll see grade levels. So find the grade level that matches your course. And within that, you'll find the standards. And you're going to select the ones that apply to your assignment. So in some cases, say this is a reading practice and informational text, I might be addressing 2 different standards. I can check as many of these benchmarks as apply and add them to my assignment, and you'll see them pop up here under the scale. You're not going to need to lock this assignment, but if you continue on your options, you have a Submissions Enabled button. Submissions Enabled means that Schoology is expecting students to submit something digitally. If this is work that you're having them complete in class on paper, a test that they turn in during your class period, you're going to disable submissions. That way Schoology isn't waiting for them to turn something in. You as a teacher would collect their work in class, enter in the information into the gradebook, and Schoology is not waiting. Green means published to students. So as soon as this is created, students would be able to see this in their Schoology course. If you are creating it now and don't want students to see it yet, simply click on the green button to unpublish it. Next to that, you have grading statistics that you can enable. They are default disabled. This, I would say, is one of the things that you want to pay close attention to. Comments are enabled for all assignments. That means that when a student sees an assignment pop up in their Schoology course, they can say something about it. It's not completing the assignment. It might be just like, hi, how you doing? Or various other random things that could easily become a distraction to your class. By disabling comments, they don't have that option. You also have this copy to courses option at the end. And if this is an assignment that you're assigning to courses that are linked together, it will automatically go to those classes. But if you do not have your courses linked, you would need to go in and choose the courses you'd like to assign it to. If you have folders organized in your Schoology class and you'd like this assignment to go to a particular folder, you may choose so. You will have to verify that the due date is the same and that the category is what you need for each course and your middle school 50 to 100 grading period 2. So if I add that to each of these courses, I'm having to go to each of these. Again, this would also be I don't know, a plug for linking Common Courses. I don't have to do this if my courses are not linked. Or excuse me, if my courses are linked, I don't have to do this. And then I would hit create. And this assignment then has been entered into all of my language arts classes. You'll see it show up in my gradebook. And when I receive student scores, I can simply click into the box, enter in the score for each student. I do have an option to mark an assignment as excused, incomplete, or missing. To the right side of my grade box, I can also add a comment. If I type in a comment for myself, I would type and close. If I want a comment to be provided to my student, then I need to click on Display to Student. And when I close it, that'll be something that they can see. So I'm just going to take that out for now. And that is creating an assignment. I know it seems a little overwhelming. Please rely on your Schoology support people in your building and in your team. Ask questions. Seek out the help you need either from one of us or from the Schoology website.